Hey guys, welcome back. So this is our next question from SQL 50 Leetcode. Question number 1193, monthly transactions. So here's the question. We have this table called transactions, and these are the columns and these are the data types. So ID is the primary key of this table. The table has information about incoming transactions, and then the state column is an enum of type approved or declined. So it's either going to be approved or declined, and then we'll have a state in here. Write a SQL query to find for each month and country the number of transactions and their total amount. So we have to find the total number of transactions and the total amount, the number of approved transactions and their total amount. So two different things. So the transactions and their amount, and then the approved transactions and their amount. So let me scroll down, and then we can return the result set in any order. So here's an example input and example output. So we have the ID, country, state, amount, and transaction date. So first we have to get the year and month from the date. So 2028 12, 2019 01, 2019 01. Then we have to group it by the country. So each month for each country. So this is 12 for US, 12 for US, 1 for US, and then 1 2019 for Denmark. And then we need the total number of transactions, and then how many transactions were approved. For example, US, we had 2 total transactions in 2018, and only 1 was approved, 1 was declined. And in January of 2019, we just had 1 transaction and 1 was approved. And similarly in Denmark, we had 1 transaction in 2019-01 and it was approved. And then similarly, we need the total amount of the approval. So for example, in 2018, only 1,000 was approved. So we'll only get 1,000 here, and the total amount was 2,000 plus 1,000, 3,000. Okay. So I'm going to come back to our SQL Server Management Studio where I have already created the table. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start writing my query in here. So let me just select everything from this table. So what I'm going to do is, let me select again. I'm selecting everything from this table so we can see it side by side. So what do we need first? First, we need the month. Okay, so for month, we can, year and month, we can either use some date conversions, or we can use, for example, get the year and the date separately. But you notice here, we already have it in this format. So we have the year and month in this format. So we can just grab like the left 7 characters of this date, and that should be fine. So I can just get from the trans state just the left 7 characters, and I'm just gonna call it month. So see here, we are getting the year and month from here, so that's good. And now let's see, what do we need next? We need the country. So if it's US, Denmark, whatever it is, and then we need the total number of transactions. So I'm just going to do a count all. So this is our total number of transactions, and I'm going to call it trans count. And since we are using an aggregate here, now we have to start using the group by. So because we have non-aggregate columns in here, so we have the month and then the country. So I can do group by our first column and then the country. Okay, let me run it now. Looking good. So Denmark, we have 1 transaction. US, we have 2 in 2018-12, and then 2019-01, we have 1 total transaction for the US. Okay, and now it gets interesting. We have to get the approved count. So for example, for US in 2018-12, we had 1 approved and 1 declined. So we want to get the approved count, so it'll be 1. And then similarly for US in 2019, we had 1 approved, and Denmark for 2019-01, we had 1 approved. So we have to do conditional count here. So what I can do for that is I can do count. So case when my state is approved. If it's approved, I'm going to put it in single quotes. So if the state is approved, then I want to count 1. Else I'm gonna count null, so I'm not even gonna consider end. So this is our conditional case statement, and I'm using a count here, and this will be our approved count. So approved count, hope it makes sense. So let me execute it now. I'm just checking my results. See, so for 2018, For US, we had 1 approved and 2 total counts. For Denmark, we had 1 total count and 1 approved. And similarly for US in 2019, we had 1 and 1. So looking good. And then we need the total transaction amount, so which is just the sum of the transaction amount. So sum amount. So this will be our total amount. And then finally, we need our approved total amount. So for example, for US, we had for 2018-12, we had 3,000 as the total amount, but the approved was only 1,000. So we need to reflect that. So again, we are going to do a sum, but conditional sum. So I can say, and let me just copy it from here. I'm just going to copy it here. So case when state is approved, then I want to count the amount. Else, I'll just count 0. I'll just sum up 0. So sum of 0 is 0. So since I want to reflect it as a 0, that's why I'm using 0 and not null. So I'm just gonna end it here, and this will be our it is approved total amount. Okay, let me execute it now. Okay, so we have the month here, we have the country, we have the transaction count. So 1, 2, 1 approved count, and then we have the total transaction amount and the approved transaction amount. For example, for US, we had in 2018 we had 3,000 total transaction amount and only 1,000 was approved. 2 transaction count and only 1 was approved. Okay, so this is looking good. So I'm just gonna copy this solution, and I'm gonna come back to our Leetcode, and I'm gonna paste my solution here. And let me execute it now. Okay, looks like I had a typo here. So approved, I'm missing a P here. So I'm just gonna put an extra P here. Let me run it again. Ran successfully. If you found this helpful, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you for watching.